Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. I'm back doing another episode of Where Are They Now? And for those of you who hadn't heard the first episodes of these series, I'm going to recap. So as you know, I coach a lot of people. And of course, you have heard me coaching people live on this podcast with my Coaching with Kimmy episodes. Well, I also have a ton of clients who I send off into the world after coaching with them. And it's so amazing and rewarding when I hear countless success stories and read thousands of emails of previous clients updating me on how their life has improved and often how they find love. So I do these Where Are They Now episodes to inspire and motivate you by hearing what happens to people after I work with them. And whether it is on a podcast or working with them over time as clients, I hope you listen to these and get inspired by people's success and know that success can happen to you too. And it all starts with a call. So today I am bringing a very special man on who I did get an email with somebody else who was in this beautiful circle, this love circle, I'll call it, if you will, that brought him success. And I was looking on my calendar and it looked like our first encounter was in 2013, which is even more special. And he ended up finding love, and he'll tell you his love story as he comes on. But I love stories like this because it shows the sticking power of when people I coach do the work. And boy, did he do the work. He definitely needed some help when I first met him. I think it started out with his style, definitely, and confidence in approaching women, but also needed some work on having more alpha energy and flirt skills and demanding more for himself. He knew that he fell into the category of a nice guy. And being a therapist, he found himself taking care of everyone else first, and in turn, sometimes wouldn't get his needs met. Boy, do I know that story. And you all know that I had that journey too. So we definitely connected on that. And as we worked together, I was helping him practice owning himself more. He ended up doing private coaching with me. And of course, we started with the shopping and then we would do the flirting. And there were a lot of things that happened out of those sessions. And we're going to talk about that to really help him gain that sexy confidence and getting more swagger in his step. There was definitely something that was just stopping him. And we definitely uncovered it. And it was funny because we were talking offline and we both pinpointed that moment when things all came together. And he got a whole new wardrobe and new pictures. He began practicing, being more assertive, approaching women, and developing more body confidence too. And even would send, kind of signals out to the world that he was more confident. And I remember I would run into him in the streets, and every time I would see him, even after coaching, his transformation was profound. Like I just saw him gaining more and more confidence. And he started dating a lot and eventually met this amazing woman who he's going to get married to soon. But I'll let him tell you the rest. So welcome, Doug. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Yes, you are. Do you remember that guy?
That guy, the geeky guy.
The geeky guy. I don't want to
Oh,
say it.
he's still here. I realized, and I don't know if you put this out on video when you release it, but I realized I've done a terrible thing, which is I'm wearing clothes that you did not get with me. It's with a day we're taping this is St. Patrick's Day, so I had to pull out things I had that are green, and none of those happen to be things that we bought together. But so I'm dressed pretty boringly, actually. But really, the better parts of my wardrobe are from you.
Yes, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Well, you look dapper, you look professional, and yeah.
Professional.
And it was so fun to like go shopping with you and see how we could put a little more edge. That was the thing. Like I wanted more edge for you because you did appear as a nice guy and you are a nice guy, but also there's so much more to you. And I think women just weren't seeing you that way. So so I just recap it. I'd love for you to just go back in time and who was that Doug back then? And what prompted you to like hire me? Like, do you remember those moments?
I I will say that what prompted me to hire you was a mutual friend of ours, and my take was anything she suggested, I would do. It was that
Oh,
just I still look at her and the way I look at you. If you make
oh.
a suggestion, I would say that's got to be smart. It's got to be a good idea. Kim says it. So,
Well, do you remember some of the things that you were challenged with back then?
boy, to go back to 2013, well, I'll say the biggest challenge that I would have been aware of
Yeah.
is too too much blood on the tracks. To quote
Mm,
Mr. Dillon, they're just a row of relationships not working that went further than I could see. And
yeah.
so too much baggage, I guess is the easy word,
Mm,
enough to have really taken away my confidence. And so there was none at this
mm.
point. I was somebody who had wanted to get married and have kids when I was, 22 or something, and nothing had worked out. And for years and years of just tremendous frustration. And so
Yeah.
would be the biggest one. And I, you say nice guy, I will say geek. I was, certainly that not the athletic guy in school. I was the one who got picked last for teams, kind of stuff. So it didn't really matter at this point. I actually was quite fit by this stage in my life, but my self image was still that.
Yes. Yes. And I remember that. And I remember our initial conversation talking about some of that stuff, like the self-esteem things. And it's amazing how even just our past imprints on us, right? Like we still can see ourselves like that a lot of times, especially when it comes to relationships. And if you had, had experiences where you didn't have a lot of experience with, women or the wrong type of women, it does shoot your confidence. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And even I'll say not necessarily the wrong type, just relationships that didn't work, but
Yeah.
oftentimes didn't work in really bad ways.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, what were some of the patterns you remember that you had with women or some of these women?
Huh. I'm trying to put myself in 2013 now. It certainly, certainly wanting validation. And this is
Yeah.
an issue that I had dealt with quite a bit, but and as a therapist, of course, we deal with it all the time. The question, where do you get your validation from? And I had learned very I had learned the tough stuff. Learned the trick of getting validation from inside or from accomplishment, not expecting somebody out there to do it because it never happens. It never can happen. It doesn't matter if the most beautiful woman in the world, if Kim Seltzer tells you, wow, you're the handsomest, sexiest, most wonderful guy in the world, there's going to be some party that says, yeah, but she doesn't know yet. She doesn't know really.
Ah.
Be there. It doesn't matter. So I'd learned that. It just didn't apply to this side of me. It
Mm.
applied to me as a person, me as having the right to exist, me being having my voice worth hearing. That stuff was good. I had lots of self-esteem, just not in the dating world, not in that particular arena. That had never changed.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that you said about like the confidence and stuff is like y- that is what I had by the time we had met, that's what I remember. I remember though that you were very also like cerebral with things and that you weren't aware of some of the body language too and the signals that you were sending out, right? And so it wasn't until we started shopping and we were doing things in life I mean, nobody can see themselves, but just your self-esteem stuff was leaking, even like through your body language, and the way, and even like the way that you would talk, or, the different things that we discovered along the way with your body language. And it, it was so wonderful to see you coming into your, even just like when you started the clothes, like when you started putting on those jackets, for instance, like you just started having that more like body confidence, if that makes sense. And it had to start with that costume because, yeah, to your point, like I saw it, but you didn't see it, and
Right.
you had to see it to believe it.
And I remember things like walking down a street with you and you saying you're walking wrong.
Yeah.
You know, you're walking, maybe too fast, whatever, but you're not walking in a way that makes me feel your presence and your power and all that. Then, and I'm kind of jumping ahead because this wasn't the first time we met,
Right.
but you mentioned earlier that there was one point, and I feel like that's one to jump into on here. Uh, we were, I don't remember where we were, but we walked by a pet store, and I am a big animal lover, dog
Yes.
lover. I think by this point I had put out a book, my first book about which is about a dog, and you said, "Okay, go in there. I'll walk in too, hang out, and go and start a conversation with somebody," which I will say for me was about like saying, "Hey, Kim, take all your clothes off and run down Main Street and uh, I don't know what with your hair on fire." It's
What's
just like,
what's hard about that? I do that all the time. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
No problem.
I hang out on the wrong streets. So
Yeah.
I we did it, and I walked in, and in a way this was perfect because it was a young, very attractive woman. And I'll say too young, like somebody that wouldn't there would have been no question. I was not going to be asking out. Was in looking for something for her dog, and I went up and chatted with her and did great. And we walked out. I felt I really nailed it. I did fantastic. And you said, "You did, Doug. You talked really well." So what was the arm thing though? And I said, "What do you mean?" And you said that thing you did with your arm. And I said, I didn't do anything with my arm, Kim. And you showed me, and I'll say for anybody who's listening, if you happen to be a old movie lover, it's the thing from the end of The Searchers. It's what John Wayne does at the very end of The Search. When his heart is breaking, when he is giving up the family that he's risked everything for, he reaches across his body with, I'm going to lean up for those who watch, reaches across and grabs his elbow and walks away. And I was doing that while I was talking with this woman and had no idea I was doing it. I had no idea I'd ever done that. That's something that John Wayne does in that movie. That's not me. And if you're going to imitate John Wayne, this isn't the thing to
Right,
imitate.
all right. There's a lot of other things
You
there.
were talking about the slow talking. That's a great idea. Not this. And I was really perplexed by it and fascinated. And I went that week and talked to my therapist. And my therapist, who's really brilliant, said, "This isn't the kind of thing I deal with. This is trauma. And I'm going to recommend that you go get EMDR." And if for those of your listeners who don't know, it's the silliest looking thing in therapy. It's somebody literally making your eyes go left to right, to
Mhm.
left to right. Or it can be with your eyes shut and you're hearing sounds go left to right. And it literally affects your brain. It's an astounding thing, which is the go-to method now for trauma, partly because it has no side effects. And I did it, and it turned out the person who worked on me was a teacher of mine from psychology school, which was awesome. But we did this for a number of weeks. And in fact, this one I can give you the date, late 2015. I know this was, no, shoot, never mind. It was around 2000, maybe late 2014, somewhere in there. But I came to realize something, and you and I were talking before, trying to put it together, but it was some childhood trauma, some sort
Yes.
of don't show off, don't
Yeah.
be too much thing, which happens to everybody. But it had gotten in me in this way that if I was talking, even though, as I say, there was no intention with this woman, but it was just presenting myself in a certain way, part of me was saying, don't you dare.
Yeah.
And that was there. We got the understanding of it. Next time I met you, went out. I don't remember who I talked with that time. No issues came up. It went fine. So then life moved on. I got more good clothes, whatever happened. And a few years later, I went to a birthday party of a woman that ironically Kim had introduced me to, who had become a friend, but her job was she was a professional matchmaker. And she had a birthday party at a wine bar, and I went to it and chatting with different people, having a nice time. And at one point, this one woman walked in, and all the other women there were very dressed up and dolled up and clearly go to the gym for 4 hours a day and all this stuff. And this woman, she looked very nice. She wasn't shiny in the way that those were. And there was something in her eyes that was a little sad. And she walked into the place carrying a flower that like a flower pot with flowers in it for as a birthday gift, obviously. And I looked at her and something in me said, I like her. I want to talk to her. I don't want to talk to these other women. I just want to talk to her. And she walked up and I very casually started talking to her because I could do it now. And my arm wasn't across me. I was holding a glass of wine. It was really fine. And this is the funniest thing. I'm not saying I got up and did some wildly flirtatious
Mhm.
act. I just casually started talking. And our mutual friend Julie walked up and then introduced us. And we talked a little more. And this is where I don't know if I've ever said this to you, Kim, but at some point, this woman, Fiona, who I just met, walked off and went, I don't know, to the restroom or to go talk to somebody she knew on the other side of the room or something. And at some point, walked back across the room and she was going to go talk to somebody else. And in her, the way she describes it, as she passed by me, she felt me from inside reach out and just grab her and pull her over. Now, I didn't do a thing. I didn't, I'm not a harasser. I'm not that
Right,
guy.
right. She felt your energy.
She felt
Yeah.
my energy absolutely grab her.
Wow.
And I will say, huh, funny thing what happens when you don't put your arm across your chest. It's amazing what can come out. Now, I didn't know that at the time. It's something she told me later. But we got chatting, and she wasn't the first person I chatted with since I met you. It's just she's the
Yeah.
first person since I met you who I got chatting with, and within half an hour, we realized we wanted all the same things in our lives. And
Oh.
this is really interesting. And it's now been a few years. There was the pandemic and stuff that got in the way, but we're engaged. And my mind, it just, there were a lot of problems in the way. I pretty much, to my mind, married her that day.
Ah,
They got married to her. She didn't get
yeah,
married to me, but I got married to her that day.
right.
It all the rest has just been working stuff out.
It's so beautiful. Your story is so fantastic in so many ways. I want to go back in time because I loved how you kind of told the whole story, from the breakthrough that you had with the protection of you and your arm to the
Yeah.
openness of the energy pulling her in. Like it's such a beautiful kind of metaphor, too, of just the work that you did. What were some of the things that we did together that helped you to really like land this woman and get to where you are?
Again, it feels more like what you got the hell out of the way because
Oh, yeah.
I think of that day again. I didn't do a single active choice of doing anything. It was just there's of course the active choice of starting a conversation. Uh, Hi, I'm Doug. How you doing? Would you like a glass of wine? No. There's that. But
Yeah,
it
oh,
wasn't that
no, but can we wait? I want to pause there because see, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit because I know you're saying that, oh, well, just, kind of happened. Like, Doug, no, like that guy that I described in 2013
couldn't have done that.
wouldn't have done that. And
Right.
you may had in your head wanting to do it, but it's like I think that confidence that was building for you
Exactly.
gave you that inertia to just like, I want that one. Like, I love how you just, you said,
Yeah.
that's the woman that I want, and you went after it. And I think before there were so many things stopping you, and really it was just you getting in your own way. And you didn't get in your own way there in that
That's
moment.
what I'm saying. We're saying the same thing, I think.
Yeah.
Just, but that it's not that Kim taught me this line of, "Hey, what's your sign, baby?"
Yeah.
You know,
What's a girl like you doing in a place like this?
yes, it's not that. It's
Yeah.
truly not that. It was not that I'm sure you have a bunch of good lines to offer the
No, I
person.
don't actually. No, I'm glad you're highlighting that because I don't believe in lines. I believe in coming from a place of authenticity and in the moment and just saying what you feel. And like what you said, it doesn't have to be this like stellar, flirty line. It's just being real and what you're like going for in that moment.
It's friendliness without anything getting in the way.
Yeah.
It's simple. And
Yes.
I'll say to other dog lovers out there, what do you do when you meet a new dog? I mean, if you're smart, you're a little cautious, you check it out, maybe put the back of your hand out for it to sniff and see if it's going to like you or not. But that's it. Then you can be friendly. There's nothing saying, "Ooh, uh, maybe I'm not dressed right for this
Yeah.
dog."
That's a great metaphor, Doug. I
I,
love
I
that.
I can't throw a forward pass, so I can't talk to you. No, it's a dog. It's fine. And I'm not that's going to sound bad about my fiance. I'm not trying to equate her to that, but just to say it's the same thing of
Yeah.
just friendliness without stuff being in the way.
Yeah. You
And in a
definitely.
funny way, I would say, when we talk about your clothes recommendations, first of all, you didn't make me get anything. There could be something you liked, and I said I can't stand this.
Yeah, yeah. And you did. I remember that.
But also, it's not that you dressed me in some incredible, astounding way.
Exactly.
It was that you got the frumpy out of the way. You got the unconfident out of the way. You got the dull out of the way. It it was just nice clothes.
Yeah.
That's
And you,
it.
well, I think it's like you just needed to own it. Like you needed to shine. You needed to
Yeah,
feel what other people were seeing in you that you just hadn't come into yet. And
right.
I think as you, yeah. And you know what's funny about that story going back to the whole arm thing? And I don't know if you remember this, but it that wasn't the only time because I wouldn't have highlighted it. That moment in the pet store when you saw that woman, I decided to say something because I saw it two other times right before that. And I'm
Oh,
like,
I didn't remember that. That's funny.
yeah. And I was like, see it once. Okay, it's just something that happens. See it twice. Okay, make you pause. Three times. I'm like, okay, Doug, we gotta talk. Like that was when it solidified that okay, this is something going on. That was
Kind of
really,
severe case of tennis elbow, Doug. Is there something?
yeah, like what is that? But it also shows, for you listening, the way our confidence is perceived, most of it is nonverbal. It's the way we move through life. I mean, 93% of communication is nonverbal, as I always talk about, but people get so caught up like in what to say rather than how to show up. And I think that was what your journey was. Like this story, I mean, you learned there were so many breakthroughs that you had, and we did deeper work together, obviously, but it was the outer, you know, piece that just hadn't synthesized with everything yet. And I think once the symbiotic relationship between the outer and the inner kind of came together is when boom, like things just started clicking.
Hmm. Yeah. And and again, we're born with that.
Yeah.
Look at this baby. What's the difference between inner and outer? Nothing. Hang around a baby enough, the inner comes to the outer. It's just
Right. And that's the thing, like, well, and as adults, like life happens, trauma happens, and you take the baby and then we have all these layers, and then all of a sudden we're protecting ourselves, whether it's with the arm or whether it's with the face, not like looking down, not looking at people. There's definitely different ways that we protect ourselves. But I'd love to hear how things are different for you now, like in ways of you and this beautiful woman.
uh well, everything is different.
Oh,
There's not uh I mean, it's almost hard to answer. It's like saying what's different about you since you know, stopped being six. It's
yeah.
but the relationship, well, ironically, although our life stories were very different in terms of literally the paths we'd taken, they have a lot in common. And one thing in common is we both were people who had been in multiple relationships that had gone bad for whatever reason, and some of them not terribly bad. Some cases, you're friends afterwards, but just the relationship side goes bad. And so we both walked into this with trepidation and really, really hoping it would work. And
Oh,
the fears have come up in us, the baggage has come up, the anger that we've had bottled in us has come up. But I learned something in as a therapist some
yeah.
years earlier that people often ask this question about what is the secret to marriage? What's the secret to making a marriage last? And I say, and this sounds flippant, but I'm really serious with what I'd learned working with couples. There's one secret to marriage lasting, which is if both people want it to last more than they want anything else. And that doesn't mean if your marriage doesn't last, oh, it's bad that you didn't want something more. If your husband's beating you, I hope you want to get out. I hope you do want to get out more than you want that marriage. It's a good thing. Or
Mhm.
if it's just not working for you, whatever, it could be whatever reason. But I will say what Fiona and I have is we each have wanted this to work. And when conflicts have come up with other things in our lives, and they have happened numerous times, we have chosen to make the relationship last instead of something else that we wanted. or to try to make them work at the same time, which of course is very hard and means you do a big juggling act. But that's the thing, is
Yeah.
that we both really wanted it. All those things that got in the way of my confidence before have shown up in this relationship.
Ah.
Question. It's just that, and I'm sure at times I've put my arm across my chest, but eventually I pulled it down and said, no, let's make this work. Let's try.
Well, what I love,
Try.
yeah, I think what I'm hearing too is it's all about communication. I mean, the fears don't go away. We all have them, and they'll be triggers, right? That it'll bubble up and surface. But the key is when two people have that desire to have it work and also have done the work, then you can talk about it together with trust and confidence.
Yep.
And, at the end of the day, when you have you, it doesn't really matter. Like when you know you're so confident within, and you have another person also who is in the same space, then you are able to work through anything. I truly believe that. And it sounds like both of you really have that strength together. So,
And I won't pretend it's always instantly there.
yeah,
The
yeah,
phone
that's fair.
goes up and somebody says something, and
Right.
yeah, have and I'll either one, obviously, reacts defensively or doesn't want to hear it, isn't it a place to hear it? But do you walk back later and say, I'm sorry, I've thought about it, and I have a better response to what you said here. And if the other person is willing to say, okay, that's actually great, that
Right.
you have a better response instead of, no, you gave the wrong response, then I'm out. Well, okay.
Yeah, not going to happen. Oh my God. Well, I know we have to end soon, but speaking of doing the work, like what would you say to somebody, and especially because you're a therapist too, who is in a place of kind of feeling down on herself or himself, and they want help, but they're scared. They're scared to make that move to get a coach or get help. Like what helped you kind of just go for it?
Because I wanted it so badly. And it
Mm.
meaning the marriage, the relationship thing. I wanted it so badly that I was willing to go and walk down a street with this lovely woman and have her tell me I'm walking wrong. And then talk to somebody and have her tell me I'm talking wrong and and you're holding your arm wrong. And are you willing to do that? And it
Mm.
sounds kind of funny because really what I'm saying is, are you willing to improve? And are you willing to wear better clothes? And are you willing to do these things? But it does mean that the part of you that is the least secure is going to get, and I'll put it in quotes, criticized. Kim is really nice. And I'm guessing any other coach who does what Kim does is really, really nice in the way they do it. But it does mean you're going to be told what's wrong in the area where you think you're the most wrong. And so that there's a vulnerability to that. I will also say, speaking just with in terms of Kim, there was never a day that at the end of the day I wasn't in a ridiculously great mood.
Oh.
I felt, you know, confident, optimistic is probably the best word. Like, wow, this was a great thing. And occasionally, the next morning I looked and said, I shouldn't have bought that one thing. Whatever. I could take that back. But that's as much as any negative was. There was nothing that said ever at the end of the day, oh, I feel so bad. I was criticized. It was so much more, oh my gosh, this was so fun. And I'm in better shape for this thing that I want than I was in the morning.
I
And
love that.
yeah, so but the mornings were always scary. I won't
Yeah.
pretend they weren't.
Yeah. Well, it would be weird if it wasn't, right? Because if something doesn't scare you, then I mean, then
And why
it's
the hell
something
haven't
that you don't need to work on, right? Like, I mean, we only are scared and are uncomfortable in things that are hard for us, or, and that's when change happens. And I have to say right back at you, Doug, like, the fact that you showed up like a kid in the candy store, and you had that positivity, and you had that belief that this is going to work. And when you believe in yourself too, and you believe in the work that we're doing, that is why you are here today to tell your story, because it
think?
was all you, really. Because I could have
And
done the same thing with somebody else, and they wouldn't hear it or like perceive it in the same way you did. And you
right.
were great.
And the only difference I would say in what you said I believed it was going to work, and I'll say no, no, I believed it had to work.
Ah,
And if it didn't work with you, I was going to have to do it with something else, but
right.
something had to work. And literally, I'll say, the level of intensity,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be okay for me to die without this happening. And so the only thing that would have been all right, in a sense, is if I died trying. And then I'd say, at least
Yeah.
I tried to the end. But if I gave up, I'd hate myself,
Hmm.
just hate myself for giving up. So that's, I'm saying that the doubt was worse than you're saying it. You're saying I thought it would work, and I'd say, no, it's just I'm not willing to
Yeah.
not try because then I have to go home and
I,
be with that guy.
yeah. No, oh, that's so good. You listening, I hope you listen to this, because, right, that the pain of what you were in before always outweighs that. I tell people all the time, it's like it can't get worse, right? Like it's already feeling bad. So the only thing that can happen is something could even just move the needle a little bit, which is better than it was before. So yeah, that was so powerful. Doug, thank you so much. I know we gotta go, but I'm thrilled for you. Thank you for coming on and sharing all of this. I know you're inspiring and motivating other people. And any
Great.
like last words you want to say before we head out?
Oh shoot, I wish you'd warned me about that. Last words on it. Oh shoot, I'm gonna come up with so many good ones when we're done. But I'll quote Chuck Berry. If I hadn't tried, I wonder where I'd be if I upon relied on someone meeting me, but because I tried, together we will always be.
Oof, can't get better than that,
Can't get
Doug.
better than Chuck Berry. No.
That was really good. All right. Well, good luck with the wedding, and I can't wait to hear more.
You
So,
got it.
thank you. So, thanks for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you know you are a little too serious and not having fun, I'm excited to share my next live co ed interactive workshop. It's coming up March 25th, depending on when you're listening to this, that will teach you how to be more playful and charismatic upon that first encounter. It is called Love Unscripted, and it's the dating improv game. I have never done this before. I'm really, really stoked about this. My unique virtual flirt shop that is going to blend dating and improv to give you that confidence and tools that will turn those awkward first dates, or maybe a little too serious dates, into sparks and fun. And this isn't just about learning new skills, it's really about experiencing them in real time in a supportive environment. And here's the thing, you're going to get a chance to be chosen as an active part of what I call mock dating during the event. And just imagine being coached live while everyone watches, helping you nail down those first date moves and get feedback from the group. And everyone will get a chance to date everyone after that. It's really a chance to get that instant feedback to accelerate your dating with some live coaching with me and other people who attend. So, I hope you come, get out of your comfort zone, have some fun. Just go to stophatingdating.com to register. That's stophatingdating.com. And spots are going to go fast on this one. I know it. So just register now. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.